a burden to Kenya's productivity. Every person in this region who does not see marketable opportunity in Uganda is a victim of a thinking and a politics that does not see that made in Kenya conquer of the region is the most important first step towards a hope for the next generation. I have been very careful in connecting our vulnerability, the declining hope among our people, and the value of enterprise. Because there is a political conversation going on in this country which pretends that to create livelihood and hope for the poor, you must punish the rich. So you start having this childish divide between the poor and dynasty. And we come from part of the world where there are no dynasties. But there's a certain reality. Kenya has to promise people who are enterprising that they can become billionaires. But the state has a responsibility that the benefit of those billions has to be shared with those who are not rich. But also the opportunities to start climbing that ladder must be spread across ethnic lines. And we must have a reflection in the business success stories. That's a reflection of the mosaic of a country called Kenya. And in this way, I'm ready to hold, ask questions about our faith. And let's be the first to say, it's cheap to business, but it's expensive not to model solution. And let's be ready to have a solution that say, the future of the world in this country is deeply dependent on what people side, as a side that is going to reward talent, as a side that is going to generation can feel there is more they are inheriting from their fathers than an inheritance of public debt. Unless we talk those issues, my generation will go down in history in ignominy. And we have years of our lives. I was explaining to somebody yesterday. I went to second school in Bokoli. And there was a transfer from Bokoli to Naitiri. I get home with swollen legs. I'm sick, and when I recover, it's time to walk back to school. But we have come that far. We had a single obsession that we could be competitive. We were fewer, much fewer than you. When I went to university, the total population in Kenyan public universities was 3,200. Less than half of the population of KIBABI University. So opportunities were galore. And today you face a competition, which is daunting. But I want to invite you into a conversation. The older among my audience, please allow me to have this as a shared conversation with younger persons. It's a conversation I shared with a national meeting of youth in Diani 2 years ago. The youth of today have two characteristics that you may not be conscious of personally, but they come out very clearly. Number one, that since the Vietnam generation, the generation of Bill Clinton and them, you are the most community-sensitive generation across the world, not in a country, that millennials care about environment more than any other generation, just as an impulse, that you feel what is in this for society. That given a chance you have an enterprising idea, you start thinking, how can we help the poor in my village? That sense of responsibility is a very exciting thing. It's very selfless, but it's a potential that has to be developed and turned into a public good. But there's a second thing about your generation. The social media generation can like you, and very quickly they can unlike you. You befriend me on Facebook, and you can unfriend me quickly. And tell you, follow us because we're good for you. The Today political party has to be a canvas which invites you to write your dreams on the canvas. And you tell the leadership of the party, we are ready to work with you with this canvas, so long as my dream remains part of the agenda of the canvas. The moment you erase my hopes, you want me to do what you want, I will unfriend you. And I want to invite you to start thinking of this as part of public engagement. The sense of qualified solidarity.
I'm in solidarity to the extent that what you do is relevant to my aspirations, to my legitimate hopes, to my dreams of leadership possibilities. But the moment I become a passenger in your vehicle for your goals, I will unfriend you. To me, that will civilize Kenyan politics in a way that bribes and tupa chini kitu kidogo, fungua mkono can never do. If there's just one contribution that the next generation can have in our national leadership, is not only to demand that political legitimacy is grounded in making sense to my agenda, that you revive my hope, that you do not see me as a vehicle to office, that my dreams can be written in your aspirations. That will be an important contribution, not just to your own generation, but to make us sanitize public discourse, get away from the bogey holes of ethnic hate, individual acrimony, masquerading as generosity, masquerading as rightful terms of tribes, to a society where the pain that we have gone through prior to COVID, the pain that has been accentuated by COVID, becomes part of the discourse in public life, and solutions to it become the basis of choosing who are your leaders. Thank you very much for your kind attention. It's about looking at the reality, how can we now, what should be a sustainable new approach to research, and particularly improving research at universities. Those are two different things, because globally, the largest expenditure on research and development over the past decade has dramatically moved from public universities to corporates, to commercial giants. For example, if you look at the digital economy, the research on automation, on artificial intelligence, cloud computing, deep learning, by far the largest expenditure is incurred by players in the digital economy. What small research startups do this research, and predatory behavior by the giants come and buy them so they own the product. The way Skype has been acquired, Twitter has been acquired, WhatsApp has been acquired. They're not developed by their owners. The owners sat back, so developed ideas, and they grab adjacent business. So the future still remains. There's no pathway to development, to sustainable growth, without investing in research and supporting the value of research and innovation as part of development planning. And I'll give sufficient attention to allocating public resources in research and development as part of the recovery of the national economy. Secondly, examples of success. That was a very twisted and risky question I was being asked by you, Professor. You want me to trade off democracy and development? I know I come from that uncomfortable school of thought that I cannot sacrifice everything in the name of democracy. To me, democracy is not an end. The livelihoods of our people, a decent income, optimizing the potential that God gave to our young men and women, giving them an opportunity to bring up families and be fulfilled in communities, is more important than democracy as an exercise. So democracy is important. I will protect your right to democracy. I will obey the rule of law, but I will not bend over everything to say that in every village you must set up a democratically elected committee to take a community letter to the post office, the way it happens in Kenya. You can't move anything because it will be set up a gender-inclusive committee and diversity and participation. Process takes so much time that product becomes too expensive and too late. And to me, that's the core of the developmental state. The developmental state is an institution of government where the leaders are consumed by building productive capacity. And you rule by the rule, you obey the rule of law, but you make the rule of law a servant to growing people's livelihoods. Sometimes it goes too far until it's the other way. You are mentioning the case of Rwanda. You could also mention perhaps Ethiopia, We must find a comfortable balance between allowing people rights and space to realize themselves, but also rallying as if we are preparing for a war. The slow attention to productive capacity, to tapping in our innovativeness, to upgrading the quality of activity for the national development is a drag on national growth, is a drag on competitiveness. I shared this morning in my meeting with the leaders of teachers in this county that if there's any one single thing I would have done, if you ask me what would you like to change in the Kenya Constitution, I will return the portfolio of agriculture to the national government. In every developing country, agriculture is subsidized. Devolved government cannot subsidize agriculture. Devolved government cannot subsidize research in agriculture development, improvement of productive capacity, and increased access to other people's markets. Europe subsidizes produce of European farmers to appear like it's cheap here, but actually expensive, just the taxpayers' money is being given to farmers. You have no model of reviving Kenyan agriculture without state subsidy to the sector in a structured way, which is not possible when agriculture is devolved as a function. I think that I know better than others. I might have misspoken. What I said is allow capacity to understand what are our problems, suggestions that you know how to solve those problems, and commitment that your agenda is to apply those suggestions in turning around our economy to be part of the basis of presenting your candidature to rule the country. So that I say, I have diagnosed the challenges of Kenya. I have a sense of how to unlock investment possibilities. I have a sense of how to cut down the cost of government. I have a sense of how to balance between recurrent and capital expenditure. And that when others come, they be subject to the same questions at the basis of choosing who will be the right candidate to lead Kenya. So KITUI can lay claim on the basis of stated positions and invite others to disagree with KITUI and say, I can do better because I stand for better appreciation of the hurting reality of the vulnerable, of the unequal investment of public resources with the unequal benefits to this country, of the hopelessness of young people with existential challenges, and of the need to turn